Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Chef with me today. We will be making my version of min KaSoy. As many of you know, min KaSoy is a very popular noodle soup dish, and I'm so excited to share my recipe with you all. So let's just get straight into it. To start off, let's go over all the ingredients that you would need to achieve my recipe. You will need 4 to 5 pieces of beef rib bones. It's very important that you get the beef rib bones for my recipe because that is pretty much a main ingredient in the broth. At least 1 pound of ground meat of your choice. The traditional way is to use ground pork. However, some of you may not eat pork and it's totally fine to use ground chicken. I've even used ground turkey before and it turns out the same. In this video, I'm actually using ground chicken. You will also need at least 1 pack of beef meatballs. This item is usually found at the local Asian store in the freezer section. Sometimes it's in the refrigerated section by the vegetables. But if you do not have access to a local Asian store, don't worry about this item too much. It's just a little extra meat. Also some shrimp if you are able to have seafood. If not, it's okay because it's just an extra addition. The flavors is what really matters. For 1 pound of ground meat, you would need at least 3 large tomatoes or 4 small tomatoes. You will also need fermented beans. If you do not know anyone locally selling this item, I would suggest going onto minmarket.com to see if they have any in stock. Guilin Style chili sauce, which is usually found at the local Asian store, but I have seen it on like Amazon. It's just the price is a little bit high, but if you're desperate for it, of course you're gonna have to make the purchase. I'm sorry. Also need at least 4 to 5 cloves of garlic, or you could buy the ones that are already minced. You will also need at least half of a red onion. Any type of onion is okay, but I prefer using the red one. An instant beef flavor paste. Any brand will work, but this is just the particular one I usually get. Beef flavor powder. I usually get mine from the Asian store, but again, if you don't have access to Asian store, Amazon should have some, or you could use any kind of beef flavor powder. I think that should work. Ground ginger. So moving along, these are all the seasonings that I like to use when I flavor my bowl of noodles. I purchased all of these items from the Asian store, but most of these items could actually be found at the American store. It may be a different brand, but those will work as well. For the items that cannot be found at the American store, you could always check Amazon. For the noodles, you could pretty much use any type of rice noodles for this recipe. The most popular one to use for KaSoy is the fresh noodles found at the local Asian stores. But if you can't find fresh noodles, you could always use like pho noodles or pad thai noodles that are found in the refrigerated section of the Asian store. Or you could even get the packaged one, which is just dry rice noodles. You could find that at the Asian store and the American store. For this video, I am using a package of dry rice noodles that I purchased from Rayleigh's. If you are also using dry rice noodles, make sure you soak it into warm water at the beginning before you even start making the broth. Now let's start cooking. To start off, you want to boil a large pot of water. Once the water starts boiling, add in your pieces of beef rib. Also season the water with garlic salt or regular salt if that's what you prefer instead. Next, you want to add in the ground ginger. Next, you want to add in the beef broth powder, also the beef flavor paste. And then add in the red onions. Let the broth boil for about 45 minutes to an hour. During this time, continue to prep the other items. So we still have a long ways to go with our prep work. We still have to cut up the meatballs, cook the KaSoy meat, also cook the noodles, as well as cut up all the vegetables. I'm going to start prepping the other items by slicing the beef meatballs into 3 pieces and adding it into the broth. The next thing I'm going to prep is cooking the KaSoy meat. To cook the KaSoy meat, start by heating up a skillet or a saute pan. Drizzle some olive oil into the pan or whichever type of oil you're using, and also add in the minced garlic. Cook the garlic until it starts getting a little bit golden brown, and then add in your ground meat. So once your meat is fully cooked, go ahead and give it a quick strain before moving on to the next step. After your meat is strained, go ahead and return it back to your skillet or pan and add in the chopped up tomatoes. So mix in the tomatoes really well and let it cook until the tomato softens. Once the tomatoes have fully softened and well cooked into the grounded meat, go ahead and add in the fermented beans and give it a good stir. And then also add in the Guilin chili sauce and give it a good stir. So the Guilin sauce is a little bit thick, so I like to add in a little bit water and give it a good stir so it thins out. Let the KaSoy meat cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. After the 2 to 3 minutes, it should be done. Then go ahead and set it to the side. Once your KaSoy meat is done and set to the side, go ahead and check on your broth. At this time, I like to add in a good amount of fish sauce, like maybe a few dashes. If you can't have seafood, I would suggest just adding in a little bit of garlic salt or regular salt, whichever one you prefer. Boil another pot of water, which you're going to use to cook the noodles. Once that second pot of water is boiling, go ahead and strain the noodles that you soaked in the beginning of the video and add those noodles into the boiling water. Let the noodles cook for a good 10 minutes or even longer if it's not soft enough for your liking. If you are using fat noodles, it's a different process. I will explain that process in the description below. Once you are satisfied with the softness of your noodles, go ahead and strain it and rinse it with cold water. So if you're using shrimp after your noodles are ready, go ahead and boil another pot of water. Once that water heats up and starts boiling, put in your shrimp and let it cook for a good minute or so, or when it starts to turn pink. Once that turns pink, go ahead and strain it and set it to the side. At this point, your broth has probably been boiling for 45 minutes now. If not, go ahead and let it reach 45 minutes. Or if you're over the 45 minutes, that's totally fine as well. Using some tongs, go ahead and take each beef bone out and place it in like a strainer or a bowl. Rinse it in cold water and let it sit for a good 5 minutes before touching it because it could be extremely hot. Once the beef bones has cooled down to where you could touch it with your bare hands, go ahead and either use kitchen scissors or a kitchen knife to cut or slice whatever meat you can off the bone. If you're able to get a good piece of meat off the bones like I did in this video, go ahead and slice that into smaller pieces. So once you're done cutting off the meat from each bone, go ahead and put the meat back into your broth. You could also include the bones as well, but it's really up to you. You could either put it back in or discard. Let your broth boil for another 25 minutes or so. During those 25 minutes, go ahead and start preparing the vegetables that you plan on using for your KaSoy. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I will be using cabbage, green onion, cilantro, lime, jalapeno, and bean sprouts. These next clips are mainly for beginners. Just wanted to make sure that I include me cutting up my vegetables and how I do it. that was actually the last and final step of prepping and cook time for your noodles. Now it's time to serve it up and season your bowl of noodles. So these next clips are just me putting my bowl of noodles together, and of course I wanted to make it look all pretty and stuff, so you definitely do not have to follow the exact way that I've put my bowl together. Do it how you want and what works best for you, and just go ahead and watch how I do it. And there you have it, Mana's version of Min KaSoy. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please press that thumbs up button for me. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments below. And also, you could direct message me on Instagram at chefandwithmana. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I really appreciate your guys' support, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye.